So you've just started your first Shopify store, or hey, maybe you've had it open for a little while, and it looks beautiful. You put a ton of time into the design, you put your best foot forward. That's awesome. But there's one problem. For some reason, no one's buying anything from you. Sound familiar? Well, listen, it's actually a very common problem, and in this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly how to solve it. I'm gonna give you some actionable steps that you can take to get your first Shopify store sale. And no, you don't have to run any ads for this. So let's get into it. Okay, so I actually did an event with the Shopify Community Forum back in April that's talking about strategies to get your first sale. Now, people asked a whole bunch of different questions. In some cases, they literally asked, how do I get my first sale? In other cases, they were asking like, how do I do SEO? How do I run ads? How do I get traffic? But essentially, the core theme and all the questions being asked was, how do I get people to know that my Shopify store exists, actually visit it, and buy something? Said another way, for the marketing geeks out there, how do I get traffic and how do I convert that traffic into sales or into a sale, right? So I wrote a full post of a summary of the recap of how to get your first sale. But in this video, I actually have a more in-depth document that I put together that we're gonna go through. I'm not gonna read this line by line. It's just gonna be a reference for different points I'm talking about. And also at the end of the video, if you wanna get access to this document, you should see it in the pinned comment and in the description. So, all right, let's go through this. So right here, I say that you don't need to go crazy with store design. It just needs to look decent. You don't have to have the most amazing looking Shopify store on the market, but it has to be doing a few things well. It has to make it very clear on what you are selling, right? People need to understand exactly what it is your Shopify store does for them. It has to be easy to follow along with and easy to get to check out. So you don't want to confuse them. You want to make sure the customer journey is smooth. And customer journey is just a fancy term for the path people take to get what they want and then go to checkout. And then the last thing I said was, you want to make sure there are no obvious errors or things that would make your website unusable. You want to look for stuff like broken links, broken buttons, like content that doesn't look right, or maybe your images don't look good. You just want to make sure that there's no like obvious issues, right? If you have any obvious problems, those need to be solved first before we can move on to what I'm going to talk about. So I say right here, if you can check off all that, we can focus on the real problem. So you might be thinking, Patrick, what is the real problem? I will tell you what the real problem is right now. So right here, why you're not getting sales. At this point, once they launch their store and they come up with a design that looks good, you might be thinking, okay, I need to go work on SEO or I need to go run ads. A lot of Shopify store owners think about one of these two things. But essentially what they're really talking about is, I need to get traffic to my website. I need to get people to know my Shopify store exists so they can see it. Right? So those things are great to think about, like I said, because yeah, you do need customers. But the big problem here is that most Shopify store owners don't put themselves in their customers' shoes. So I want you watching this video right now to take a step back and ask yourself this question. If you were shopping on your Shopify store, would you buy something? So yeah, pause the video, take a step back, think about it. If you were looking at your Shopify store and you've never seen it before, would you buy something? And if you wouldn't, what would make you want to buy something? It's important to think about things like this because this is what your customer is thinking about. And I have an example right here. I said, for example, a lot of you watching might have a clothing store or you want to start one. Clothing stores are like one of the most common Shopify stores out there. Now, when you're starting a clothing store, you're competing a ton of other stores. So you need to focus on a specific problem you're trying to solve for someone. I have an example here of a Shopify store called Under 510. Let's take a look at the website. This is the homepage for under510.com. So look at the banner up top. Hold on. Let me refresh the page. It's not showing what I want it to show me. All right, right here. The banner up top says, clothes made for short men. That is the value proposition. So if we go back to the doc, we just asked, what problem are you trying to solve for people? This clothing store is trying to solve the problem of there not being enough clothing options for short men. I mean, stylish clothing options. Like, look at these guys. These guys look like they're well dressed, right? And I actually did some research. I asked Google, and the AI summary here says that Most men's clothing stores in the US is made for heights between 5'9" and 6'1". So if we go back to the website is called Under 5'10". So if I was a customer shopping here for the first time, I would think to myself, okay, this Shopify store's entire value proposition, or what they can offer to me, is if I'm a man underneath the height of 5'10", I will be able to find clothing options. So if I'm 5'7", 5'6", 5'8", even 5'5", there's probably going to be something here for me. That's a huge problem for a lot of guys out here. So they've identified a specific problem they want to solve. So in your case, you want to take a step back and think about a specific problem you want to solve. Okay, I put right here something that's important. I put, it helps if you have some experience with whatever problem you're trying to solve. So with the example of under510.com, let's say, I have no idea who the founder of that site is, but let's say the founder of that site is a man that is underneath 5'10", right? He's probably had a lot of experience dealing with the problem he's trying to solve. Because he has experience dealing with the problem, he is able to speak to the problem, speak to the pain of the problem, and actually could envision what he wants as a solution. And that right there is his roadmap to figuring out how to develop his product, what he should be selling on his store, and ultimately how he should market what he's selling to connect with other people that have that problem and give them the highest likelihood of actually buying from him. So in your case, that's what you need to do. So put a different way, if you have experience with the problem, you can better figure out what you should be selling to solve that problem, how to talk about the problem so that other people experiencing it can connect with you, and what would make you want to buy a solution for that problem, because most likely it's the same thing that would make your customers want to buy something to solve that problem. Now, if you don't have experience with that problem, it's fine. You can do some research on online groups like Reddit, school communities, Facebook groups related to that problem. But if you have experience solving the problem, it just makes it a ton easier to deal with it. All right, I put right here, once you know what problem you want to solve for, now we can start talking about marketing. Okay, how to get started with marketing. So a lot of the conventional advice out here is to just run ads. Running ads works, and it'll probably keep working forever, right? But the problem with running ads is you need a good amount of money to start off with to figure out what type of ad, what offer, and what creative works the best. Essentially, you need money to burn to learn what ad works well. I don't know about you. I don't have money to burn on ads, and if you don't either, then this is gonna work better for you. So I recommend creating content. Yeah, the content creator recommending content. I know, so original. But content creation was the first thing that worked for me with Code That Converts. I tried a bunch of stuff before, and content creation was the first time I ever got people to pay attention to me on the internet. So I think it'll work out for you as well. So here are some things I would try. Making short form content on Instagram and TikTok, and maybe even some long form YouTube videos. I would lean more towards the Instagram and TikTok side because short form content, although you will have to post a lot, it's a lot easier to crank them out. YouTube videos are a ton of work, but if you can do it, do it. But I definitely recommend doing short form stuff, or maybe both. All right, the second thing I have here is writing blog posts and sharing them in online groups related to your niche. Blog writing is not new, but most people do blog writing from the reference point of trying to do well in SEO. I think a better way of going about doing this, well, I think you should focus on the SEO part, sure, but you want to make sure that you post your blog posts in relevant online groups related to your problem. Just make sure you read the terms of service and the guidelines so that you don't end up doing something to get yourself banned. Like I got myself banned posting in one of the Shopify groups once. Please don't be like me, but you want to make sure that you're posting your stuff where people can see it. And at this point, try your best not to be too salesy. You don't want to be pushing your products too much. You just want to be talking about the problem that people in your niche experience and your experiences with the problem, and also how you solved the problem for yourself, or how you're trying to solve the problem for yourself. Now, the last thing here, and this is optional, but optional means you should do it anyway. This is a big one. Going to local events related to your niche. Oh my Lord. This is so important. I didn't understand how important it was until I started going to Shopify events at the end of last year. Going to events is huge because you will meet so many people doing things similar to you, doing things different from you, and you'll just get tons of ideas, and you'll make people aware that your brand exists, that your Shopify store exists. So I highly, highly, highly recommend going to local events related to your niche, and also going to Shopify events for Shopify store owners. I promise you, it is worth the effort. It will not be a waste of your time. You will learn something and you'll have some fun too. Now, if you really want to make some traction, you should do all three. But those are some things I recommend you to get started with. I think if you do that, you'll make a ton of progress and it won't be as expensive as running ads. So there you go. All right, now I put right here, really important point here. It won't work overnight, but if you focus on doing this consistently, you will make progress and you will start to get actual traffic to your store. Please don't see this as one of those get rich quick kind of things, right? Making money fast doesn't really exist. All this stuff is hard work. It's work, but it'll be worth it. Just give it time to work. It's like going to the gym. You don't get muscles overnight, but if you work hard consistently for 6 months or for 3 months, you'll start to see some changes in your body. You will see that things are happening. You just got to keep making that push, keep making progress, and I guarantee you that you will get somewhere. All right, so right here in the guide, this is like, okay, now you got traffic. Now what? So I put right here, once you have a solid plan on how you get traffic to your site and get actual potential customers looking at your store and your products, you need to think about how to convert that traffic. I've got 2 words for you. Email list, okay? I'm gonna say it again for those of y'all in the back. Email list. You need to build an email list. This is like the most important thing you could have. An email list or an SMS list. One of these 2 things is the most important thing you can have, because if you have that, you will be able to reach your customer whenever you want. Whenever you post a video, create a blog post, do any kind of online marketing, you have no idea who will actually see the video, what the algorithms will show. You have no idea. But the one thing you can control is your email list. Now, you don't control when people open their email or if they actually take an action, but at the very least, you will land in their inbox unless you get sent to spam. Hopefully, if you don't get sent to spam, you will land in their inbox. It's a very good asset to have, an email list. And I know what you're thinking. Patrick, I don't read my email. Yeah, neither do I. But I have an email list and people actually open their emails. So get an email list. You definitely need one. Email is still one of the highest converting marketing channels for many e-commerce businesses. And I personally know some Shopify Plus merchants that swear by email. And if it works for them, it'll work for you. And email is a super low cost way to reach your customers or potential customers whenever you want. So yeah, this is also cheaper than running ads. So totally recommend this. All right. So right here, I talk about how you can build your email list. As you're making your content, you want to offer something for free that can help people start to solve the problem you're focused on. So for example, under510.com. They don't do this. I don't see it that they do this. But let's say you wanted to start helping people solve the problems that they would have if they're under 5'10 and they're under 5'10 and they're having a problem finding good clothing, right? I see they have a blog here, right? What you can do is you can look at one of your most popular blog posts or some of your most popular content and try to turn that content into a resource. Let's say, for example, under 5'10, they put together a guide, an ebook, a private video, whatever the case may be, showing guys how they can start to put together outfits if they're under 5'10. Like what are things they can do that are low cost to help them solve the problem of being able to find fashionable clothing for their height. The goal here is to let people know you're trying to solve their problem. You're not just in this to make money off them. You're really trying to solve their problem. So you're giving something away for free to help them do that, to attract people to your list. Now, a lot of brands, what they do, and under 5'10 does this too, is they'll offer some kind of discount code, get $10 off your first order or get some amount off. And that's their lead magnet. That's how they get people to join their email list. You should do this, but you should also experiment with lead magnets that help your audience start to solve their problem. This is something that a lot of Shopify stores aren't really doing, and I think it'll help you stand out. So whatever your niche is, think about something you can create for them to help them start solving their problem and offer that as a lead magnet in your content. Okay, so that's how you're gonna start building your list. And once your list starts to get off the ground and people are joining, you need to email them a few times a month. Yeah, I know it's work and you don't wanna do it. An easy way to get around this is when you're making content, try to create some kind of quick summary or something of the content. Send that as an email. And in the link of the email, just say, hey, if you want to see the full video or the full blog post about this, you can click here. Or if you have some quick little tip for people in your niche, you can put that in an email as well. You just want to make sure you're sending out emails that are actually valuable to the people that might be opening them. Now, a good rule of thumb here as you're making your emails is to only promote your products in 20% of your emails. So that's 1 out of every 5 emails. That way, you can balance providing value with actually pushing your products. And as you do this, who knows? You might get your first sale right there. Actually, you probably will get your first sale over time as you do this. I even put that right here. If you do this consistently, you'll get your first sale and then many more after that. So that's the whole play. All I've told you so far is the strategies to get your first sale. If you follow everything that I said, you'll be able to get your first sale. But there's more. What to do after your first sale? Ooh. All right, so I say right here, once you get your first sale, reach out to the customer that bought from you and ask them what their experience with you was like. If their experience was great, ask them for a review. If their experience sucked, ask them more info about what happened so that you can make it better, so that you can improve your website, improve your product, and improve your customers' overall experience with your Shopify store. Now, as you get more and more sales, rinse and repeat. Just keep asking people how their experience was. Ask them for reviews. Now, a lot of people use Shopify apps to help automate this, and that is a good idea, but you want to make sure you personalize the experience as much as you can. A big problem with using apps is that a lot of people just use whatever templates the app set up, and it doesn't really feel like personable. The person feels like they're dealing with some kind of like robotic email or robotic text message. You want to make sure you personalize the experience. Now, if you can do that with the app, wonderful. But if you can't, take the time to actually reach out to that person. I know it sucks to have to do that, but those little things that you do that other people are not willing to do are what's going to differentiate you from them and actually help you build a business that will stand the test of time. Or at least that's what I believe. That's what I'm trying to do. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong though. All right. So the last thing I have here, if you want to get access to this doc, at the end of the doc, I put a checklist that you can follow to go through as you work on this stuff to get your first sale. Like I mentioned, when you get access to the whole doc, it should be in the pinned comment or in the description of the video. So all right, if you can follow everything that I put in this guide and just work on it every day and keep making progress, then you're well on your way to getting your first sale. So yay you. I know you can do it. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. All right, so that brings us to the close of the video. Now, if you want to get even more value, I think you should check out this video over here that's on the screen. It's recommended by YouTube as to what you should be watching next. So check that out. I'll see you in there.